It's never quite at West Ham, let's be honest. We've got a load of transfer rumours for you. We've got some players going out. We've got some players who are signing contract extensions. We've got some coaches leaving, and we've got some other rumours. A little bit of a Lucas Paquetá in this video as well. Look, Kevin Nolan, John Heitinga, Mark Robson, all those people leaving is really no surprise at all. They're David Moyes' staff, and as is usual in these circumstances, when a manager signs a contract, his staff will generally sign the same length of contract. So if Moyes wasn't going to renew, neither were his staff. I mean, he had a little bit of a reshuffle last season, really, didn't he, losing Mark Warburton and losing Paul Nevin. Obviously brought Heitinga in. So Billy McKinley's gone as well. All the usuals, really. I think if there's anybody I would like to, say a special bit of praise for, I think it's Kevin Nolan, who I think has done his job so well under difficult circumstances. I think he's been a good coach for West Ham. And also a really, really good West Ham captain during his time as well. And I wonder if that's the last we've seen of Kevin Nolan at West Ham. I wouldn't be surprised if in some way, shape or form, in some capacity, he does return back to the club. Let's get to the elephant in the room, if you want. Aaron Cresswell. Aaron Cresswell has basically signed his contract extension at West Ham, or so it seems, or he's about to. Gio is going to do a full video on this over on the main channel later on today, so I'm not really going to go into it in any detail at all, really. But suffice to say, I'm not entirely sure what I think about it. I'm pleased. He's a good servant. However, in terms of reducing the age of the squad, it's sort of the news about Cresswell came at the same time that a load of news broke about how Tim Steidten was going to completely revamp our recruitment process and stuff like that, which I think is still true. But the next story that hit after hearing all this newfangled stuff and how we're going to bring in young players, literally the next story that hit was Aaron Cresswell staying at West Ham for another year. We know that Lopetegui wanted him. We know that Lopetegui liked him. I think it is important to have some senior players, but the West Ham are going to have to work quite hard to reduce the average age of the squad anyway. And it does seem slightly odd that we would let Ben Johnson leave but retain Aaron Cresswell, particularly when Aaron Cresswell's wages are probably more, and I say probably, I don't know, but are probably more than Ben Johnson has asked for. So I find that a little bit weird. Lucas Fabianski's staying as well. He actually signed his contract a few months ago. So I think that maybe, just maybe, that's the homegrown quota thing has played a part in Aaron Cresswell there. I'm not poo-pooing him. I actually think he's been all right recently, but I do believe that probably feeds into the stories that we've been hearing, that actually it's centre-backs that are a priority for West Ham. I'm not going to lie and say it's not a concern. It is a slight concern for me. But as I said yesterday, I did yesterday's video, we can only really judge Lopetegui once he starts. But yeah, so I'm as a start, I'm quite cautious about it, and all eyes are going to be on the transfer window and who we bring in. I'm hopeful we bring in some exciting signings because we do have a very old squad, and that needs to be sorted out. Somebody that has sorted that out, I guess, is Angelo Ogbonna. I think he is 36 tomorrow. He released a statement saying basically that he's heard nothing from the club in terms of a new contract. I hope, he actually said he's heard nothing from the club. I hope that's not the case. I hope he has heard from the club and they've told him, Angelo, we're not going to give you a new deal. I hope it's not just radio silence. I'm sure it wouldn't be. They actually did an interview yesterday with Ricky Martin, former academy director at West Ham, and he was academy director until 2022. We did it over on Patreon, so you can go and check that out if you want, over on our Patreon channel. Links in the description below. It was quite revealing and quite telling, actually. Some of the things he said about the stuff goes on behind the scenes at the club. I would imagine there's been dialogue with Ogbonna. That's what I would suggest on that one. Ryan Sessegnon. Let's go with Ryan Sessegnon because I think that's quite an interesting one. Do you remember? He was the next big thing. He used to be the future. Signed for 25 to 30 million from Fulham for Tottenham. He's out of contract, apparently. He's only 24 years old. Versatile player. Can play left back. Can play higher up the pitch on the left wing. Would seem to me like a bit of a no-brainer. I've always liked him. I liked him at Fulham. It didn't really work out for him at Tottenham, but then I can't remember which manager it was under, but one of the managers got him playing really, really well. Was it? Maybe it wasn't Conte. I can't remember who it was. But, out of sorts, out of favour at the moment. And as a free signing, I'd certainly be looking at that and giving that a go. Ticks both boxes, young and English. What's wrong with that one? I don't think there's an awful lot wrong with that myself. Let's deal with Lucas Paquetá before we get to the final bit of transfer gossip. There's loads. I mean, there's so much transfer gossip. It's impossible to do it all, and I think so much of it is really hard to quantify. So I just want to sort of condense what I feel is the important West Ham news in this stuff. Portuguese media are reporting that Lucas Paquetá has already signed his pre-contract agreement, or agreed terms. Sorry, he's not signed a contract. You can't do that. That's illegal. He's agreed terms with Manchester City. Okay, I guess there's no massive surprise there. There would have been dialogue between the players' agents and Manchester City. However, the deal still can't be done yet because. So remember 2 weeks ago, I said we'd heard the rumour that the FA investigation would be concluded in a week. Well, that was meant to be last week. It's now this week. You know it's this week. I don't need to tell you that. Your calendar will tell you that. We're already over the deadline of when we were told it would be. Now, it was just a rumour, and that's why you can't believe everything you hear, obviously. If that FA investigation doesn't get wrapped up and doesn't get done, Lucas Paquetá is not signing for anyone. No one's going to buy him. So anyway, here's what we understand. If it does get wrapped up, Man City are going to try and buy him for this is the weirdest transfer negotiation I've heard since the Pablo Fornals one. Manchester City have sort of let it be known that they're going to try and get Paquetá for cheaper than the £85 million buyout clause, and if they can't convince West Ham to sell him for less, they'll pay the £85 million buyout clause. That's like me saying, I'm going to buy your bicycle. Your bicycle that you want £300 for. I'm going to try and buy your bicycle for £150, but if I can't and if you say no, I'm going to buy it for £300. It's not much of a negotiating tactic. We did it, if you remember, during the season. So in the build-up to January, we extended Pablo Fornals' option for a year on his contract, and we let it be known that the reason we've done that is to get ourselves some money. Because what we wanted to do was look to get between 8 and 12 million for Pablo Fornals. Well, wouldn't you believe it? Real Betis bought him for 8 million. Why would you not? Why would you not? It's a crazy. Well, of course I'm going to buy it for the lowest price I possibly can. So that's that. Look, who knows what's going to happen there? That's the Lucas Paquetá stuff. Just finally, Marc Guéhi. He is obviously. I don't know if he's going away in the summer to the Euros with Gareth Southgate. Don't know. Possibly he will. Certainly. He's at Crystal Palace at the moment. Crystal Palace have been playing really, really well. In fact, their defence has been absolutely decimated by injury, hasn't it, this season? Good player. Really good player. I don't want to damn him in faint praise. Really, really good player. His contract is up next year. So basically, he's got, 14, 15 months left on his contract, as I understand it. So they're actually in a worse position than we were with Declan Rice, because we would have had 2 years at the point we sold him to Arsenal. Apparently West Ham are going to make a bid for him. Now, you're thinking, what are you talking about, Marc Guehi? That's why. West Ham are apparently going to make a bid for him. What do we know? Well, we know we're after centre-backs. 2 of them. Two centre-backs, please. So, there you go. A little quick transfer roundup. There's no point in me going into any great detail about any of the other stuff. This stuff is going to change daily, by the day, honestly. So, hey, we're not even in silly season yet. We're approaching silly season, but the season's ended. Not technically, but for us, the season's ended, which means, there's going to be transfer rumours. Lots of them, particularly till we can officially sign our first player. We can't do that. What can we do? We can tie certain players down to extended contracts and options, which is obviously what we've done with Aaron Cresswell, and we can release players, which is clearly what we're doing with Angelo Ogbonna. He's not going to be the only one, is he? I think he's just the first one to break ranks and say, he said all loads of nice stuff. You've got to love Ogbonna. He was great. I probably should say that. During lockdown, he was magnificent. I never thought he was a loud player, and it wasn't really until just before they started filtering in the fake crowd noise, there was a little period in lockdown football, COVID football, where you could hear everybody. And I remember, you may remember me if you've been watching the channel for a long time, I was saying at the time how noisy our bench were, and Nolan was a massive part of that. But also, I never thought that Ogbonna was particularly loud, and it turned out he was. I was very, very surprised. it was sort of cavernous stadiums where it was utter silence. You could hear what the players were saying. I was really impressed, and I thought he played really, really well throughout that period, which is, possibly Moyes' best period. I know he won the trophy, but that was the season we went on and finished sixth, wasn't it? So, lots to admire with Ogbonna. What a great signing he was. Been a great servant. And Cresswell as well. I'm not meaning to demean Cresswell. I'm just worried about what it means for West Ham's transfer strategy and whatnot. I think it does mean we're not going to sign a left back. I think that will be it. He'll be playing understudy to Emerson. So I wonder if they'll get Ollie Scholes out on loan. Who, funny enough, I was talking to, as I say, did an interview yesterday with the former academy director, Ricky Martin, and we discussed Ollie Scholes, amongst others. So check that out. Links in the description below, patreon.com/Hammers Chat. Go and give it a look. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.